Preparing for a mastectomy can be very scary. You may have never had another surgery before, so combine that with a cancer diagnosis, and this can be a very anxiety-provoking time. So here are 5 ways to best prepare for a mastectomy. Starting with number 1, get the answers to your questions before your surgery date. This is very important, and hardly anyone's talking about it, or more importantly, how to actually do it. If you have a concern about your surgery, diagnosis, or your treatment, you're not being rude or annoying. If you have a doubt, then you deserve an answer. Let me tell you why this is so important. We have very clear research that people with cancer who have trusting relationships with their cancer care team actually get better treatment outcomes. So let me break that down for you again, because this is important stuff in a very straightforward way for you to get better treatment outcomes. If you work to have a trusting relationship with your oncologist, or keep pushing until you find an oncologist that you can really trust, then you will actually get better results from your treatment. So it's worth it. Keep pushing. The decisions that you make during your cancer treatment and cancer recovery are some of the most important decisions that you're gonna make in your life. It's okay to ask questions, like a lot of questions. It's okay to be unsure. It's okay to need some time to think about it. All of these things mean that you're taking your decisions very seriously. And you should be. I was diagnosed, I searched and searched for the best surgeon to do my surgery. I reached out to my colleagues from coast to coast to see who was the best person to do this surgery for me. 2 names kept coming up, and one of those surgeons actually lived in the city where I was living. He was more advanced in his career and very experienced. He was also very trusted and respected by other healthcare professionals and his patients. So when I met him before the surgery to discuss my treatment plan, I was feeling pretty confident about having him as my surgeon. But I did ask him one very pointed question. I asked him if he felt qualified to do my surgery. Here is one of the most well-respected surgeons in the country, a leader in his field, and I asked him if he was qualified. He politely said he felt very confident. Because I have extensive training in cancer care and a doctorate in the field, I felt confident asking a pointed question like that. So I did. But here's the takeaway. At the end of the day, I'm the one that deals with the consequences of a successful surgery or an unsuccessful surgery. Not the surgeon, not the nurse, not anyone else, just me. So get the answers you need and push until you feel comfortable. This leads me to tip number 2, exercise before your surgery. This sounds like a really strange suggestion, so let me tell you why this matters. Honestly, most cancer survivors don't think about this one, but you're going to want to exercise or work out before you go in for surgery. Here's why. Your movement or your exercise is going to be restricted for quite some time after surgery. The American Cancer Society suggests that women focus on recovery only after a mastectomy for a minimum of 4 to 6 weeks. In general, women's exercise is going to be limited for at least this duration of time, or likely longer. That's a long time to go without working out if you're used to having that as part of your routine. Even if you're not used to having it as part of your routine, it can still feel really limiting. So in the weeks leading up to your surgery, go to the gym, go work out, play a game of tennis, do a Peloton class. It's gonna be a while before you get back there. But there's actually an even bigger reason why you should focus on exercise before your mastectomy. That bigger reason is actually focused on your health and how quickly you can recover after that mastectomy. Your surgery recovery time will actually be shorter if you are more physically fit going into your mastectomy. You want to have as much lean muscle as possible prior to your surgery. This is going to allow other muscle groups to compensate for the ones that you cannot use because of your surgery. And having this lean muscle will allow you to still function to varying degrees. If you're overall a bit detrained or weaker, then recovery can actually take longer. You won't have the muscle mass to be able to lift yourself up or to shift across a bed. But the good news is that you can actually do something about this. There's usually a fair bit of time between learning about your diagnosis and actually having your mastectomy surgery. You have time to work out, get stronger, and really impact your recovery. It's really for this reason why I often say as soon as you learn about your diagnosis, you should head out to the gym. You want to be as strong as possible heading into this very long treatment plan. Now that you're physically strong, let's focus on being mentally strong. Tip number 3 is that it's okay to grieve. In the cancer space, we're often led to believe that everything has to be positive. Just stay positive. But this type of positivity can actually be quite damaging. It's also known as toxic positivity. As a cancer thriver, you are allowed to feel a range of emotions. It's normal to work through that range of emotions. Coping with a cancer diagnosis actually closely follows the 5 stages of grief. If you're a cancer survivor, these 5 stages probably sound very familiar. Denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. After I was diagnosed with stage 3 ovarian cancer, I was completely shook to my core. I was only 30 years old and had hardly any symptoms at all. Cancer was not what I was expecting. Naturally, I went through these 5 stages. First, being in denial, thinking that this must not be cancer. It must be something else, or they must be looking at someone else's scan. Then I transitioned to anger. Why is this happening to me? I had done everything in my power to be healthy, eat healthy, exercise, manage stress. Then bargaining, then depression, and finally acceptance. I accepted my diagnosis and then navigated through surgery, treatment, and the long recovery after. But what you notice about these 5 stages, none of them have anything to do with positivity, but it's still natural and normal. Going through these stages means that you are processing this information and coping just as you should. But to prepare for a mastectomy, you also must keep in mind tip number 4. This is an important one and it's often forgotten about before it's too late. Make sure you can reach the items you need in your house. Remember that your mobility is going to be very restricted during your mastectomy recovery. Your ability to lift your arms up is going to be very limited. Reaching for plates, cups, towels is going to be either very painful or not possible at all. Before your surgery, rearrange your house so that items that you need are easy to reach. Of course, you'll need help following your surgery. A spouse, an adult child, a friend, having their help is going to be very important during your mastectomy recovery. But you're also going to want to limit the things that they have to do for you. Easy way to plan ahead is actually going through your routine without lifting your arms. Every time you reach up or stretch to grab something, know that you have to move that item to an easier place to grab. That actually leads me to tip number 5 and something that a lot of cancer survivors struggle with. Consider your options for reconstruction. There are a lot of different options for reconstruction after a mastectomy, or no reconstruction at all. They each have pros and cons. The risks, the number of surgeries required, the recovery time, the long-term side effects. I've had breast cancer clients pick any number of these surgeries and be happy with the results. So there's really no wrong answer here. This is your body and a very important decision. So be ready with a list of questions to ask your care team or other cancer thrivers who have gone before you. If you're a breast cancer survivor, then a mastectomy is just one way that you can reduce your risk of a cancer recurrence. But of course, you want to do everything possible to make sure that this does not happen to you again. The good news is that there are a lot of small changes that you can make in your life that will actually take you a long way in reducing your risk of a cancer recurrence. That's why I've linked up this next video here so you can get all the answers right now on what you can do to stay a cancer thriver forever. See you in there.